I gotta say right off the bat, I love how unintentionally normal sounding this band's name is in comparison to almost literally every other black metal band out there. Like Dimmu Borgir, Cradle of Filth, Enslaved, Mayhem, Behemoth, Seth. Booyah, ladies and gentlemen! French black metal pioneers and poster boys Seth are back after nearly 8 years of silence with their 6th studio album, La Morsure du Christ. And before all you fanboys and keyboard warriors get to work, yes, I am well aware I am mispronouncing virtually everything surrounding this album in this video because, spoiler alert, I don't speak French. Right off the bat, this album really captures my attention as it stands as quite possibly the band's most provocative and even poignant album of their career. For this is far more than just a return to the glory days of blazing French black metal. It is a time capsule of the real pain and trauma felt by the people of France in the aftermath of the burning of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Writing here in a press release, the tribulation that has emerged from the inferno that engulfed our national monument is fraught with mysticism, Kabbalism, and necromancy, and has shaken the world to its core. More than a mere backdrop to our new album, the brazen arson attack occurred in a time of spiritual dislocation and religious collapse, and the resulting became a cornerstone of our inspiration, transforming a mystical experience into the coalescent art of an album written in French Alexandrine lyrics. Going on to say the evocative title echoes the debut album's deeper meanings and symbolizes both the betrayal of a god deserting his own world and the ultimate demise of his reign. These ashes are offered to you as a gift to pay tribute and celebrate the 2nd anniversary of the fire. As far as I'm concerned, this isn't exaggerated in the slightest, because there is a real rage and bitterness that is constantly flowing throughout this album. You can practically feel the weight of this event on your shoulders. You can practically see the flaming spires of the iconic Notre Dame for yourself as the album literally and figuratively blazes through some hellish and ritualistic black metal. The album is just so dark and visceral and immediate. There is truly no time to waste whatsoever on La Morsure du Christ. The title track, doubling as the album opener, practically rampages through your speakers before you even press play. It's a truly carnivorous and evil display of black metal, with some very haunting angelic choirs and keyboards contrasted with some very stark and brutal black metal riffing and percussion. Never mind Notre Dame, as far as this number is concerned, the entire country may as well be engulfed in some kind of apocalyptic vortex of fire. The size, the scale, the overall production of this number harkens to a long-lost fusion of classic Emperor and very early Dimmu Borgir. And impressively, not only is this very real and hellish rage never once compromised as the album continues forward, but it appears to grow even more hostile, even more violent, and even more provocative as it continues to literally watch the fires swell and grow. The following track, Metal Noir, for instance, is a literal explosion of just true black metal manicy, overflowing with venomous, sneering vocals and ripping tremolo riffs. Then there's Sacrifice to Sang, which goes into more atmospheric and supernatural territory with some chimes and acoustic guitars and some deep, earthy chanting vocals. When contrasted with some very dynamic riff-driven grooves and some very nasally, creature-like leads, it builds up to something genuinely very dramatic and theatrical, quite possibly one of the biggest cuts on the entire record. Somewhat similarly, a track like Hymn au Vampire evokes a very gothic kind of melodrama and agony, not too unlike what I would hear in theory from Cradle of Filth, though here filtered through a more straightforward but ultimately still quite powerful kind of melodic black metal. I will admit it's roughly around this point in the album that on repeat listens, I was briefly lost as sections of literal hellfire all bled together into one big, overwhelming blob of hellfire. But consistently, Le Triomphe de Lucifer reeled me back in every single time, thanks to some genuinely heart-wrenching and punishing performances, and incredible utilization of choirs and angelic vocals and organs. All of which together do feel like the kind of thing I actually would hear ringing out of Notre Dame de Paris. One could argue that the album is too overwhelming for its own good, and I guess you'd be right, but you wouldn't be right in the way that you think you're right, if that makes any sense. It's clear that the album is meant to be extremely overwhelming. It's clear that it's supposed to make you feel somewhat uncomfortable. It is actively trying to place you in the Notre Dame Cathedral literally as it's burning, to make you feel the pain, the agony, the legacy, the history, the weight of that church. It is trying to scar you in the same way that this incident scarred the collective psyche of Paris, France, and to some extent how the Catholic Church and the Cathedral of Notre Dame itself has perhaps scarred the citizens of Paris throughout its history. It is a deeply symbolic and intentionally agonizing experience, and you don't need to be well-versed in the Seth discography or be well-versed in the French language to understand this particular factoid. It is made abundantly, evidently clear through the music. It makes for one of the most ambitious and interesting black metal records of 2021, and considering that this year has been filled to the brim with spectacular black metal, that's one hell of a fucking statement I just made. I feel comfortable giving this a very enthusiastic 4 out of 5. This is a great record, almost an incredible one. It is just filled to the brim with fantastic songs, great atmosphere, great production, and a lot of real emotion. It makes for such an immersive and powerful listen. Anyone who already loves Seth is sure to love this record. Anyone who loves epic and emotional and super inventive black metal that still sticks to the roots and the foundation of this genre are sure to enjoy it as well. I'm willing to bet, considering it's been close to a decade since Seth put out a studio album, this will be, for a lot of people, their first time listening to Seth, and I really, really look forward to hearing what they have to say. I really look forward to hopefully seeing Seth, as a result, finally explode and get some of the recognition that they utterly, absolutely deserve. Honestly, I'm kind of running out of things to say, and I don't really feel like repeating myself, so let's just wrap it up here. La Morsure du Christ, 4 to 5, a fucking great record. Definitely check this out if you somehow haven't already. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.